I think that's not the question, sir. It's unresponsive. Have we consented to the ICC jurisdiction?
No, we have not. And that's why we have cooperated with Interpol. That's why I don't believe we fall under that U.S. Executive order. And anyway, I believe if there were any issue, it would have certainly been brought to our attention.
Yes, Secretary Remulla mentioned in the first hearing international humanitarian law, which confused everyone because it only refers to wartime relief and largely to the Red Cross. And possibly crimes against humanity as part of customary international law, papayag tayo, pero yung jurisdiction ng ICC, customary na rin, may universal recognition of ICC jurisdiction. Paano nangyari yun?
I don't get it, ma'am.
You referred to the basis of the Interpol and the ICC warrant. Since we are no longer under the jurisdiction of the ICC, ang sabi po ninyo, yung international humanitarian law ang
Ma'am, it's
nyo.
the world community.
Panggera naman yun.
It's the world community that has a regime that recognizes international humanitarian law and gross violation of human rights, ma'am.
Pero kahit may international humanitarian law, which is really irrelevant in this case. Wala namang digmaan, wala namang hinaharang na
Then
mga
it's a human
relief
rights factor,
workers.
ma'am.
Pero, hindi naman siguro universal recognition of ICC jurisdiction.
No, more than
Meron
100
bang ganon?
more than 100 countries do recognize the jurisdiction.
Yes, but even if you're not a member, you fall under them. Akala ko sabi mo, hindi.
Ano nga ho eh, the country is not, but the individuals are. Kasi ano nga ito eh, parang in fact, yung mga sinulat po after the arrest of the former president, it changes the complexion of politics. Kasi yung impunity may have a lesser role in the future.
Yes, in order for the ICC to exercise jurisdiction over an individual, kasi nga kanina nalilito na si Bato tungkol sa individual at state, the Philippines must still, at the very least, consent to jurisdiction over the individual, tama? Nag-consent ba tayo?
Ano ho yan eh, gagawin nila yan whether we like it or not.
Okay. At binanggit ni Secretary Manalo, katulad ni Pangulo Bongbong, na yung Interpol ang dahilan. Tanggap naman natin ang Pangulo ay napakalawak ng kanyang diskarte, ang kanyang kapangyarihan para ayusin ang ating foreign policy. But I can't accept that the Philippines was merely complying with commitments to Interpol, which has been alluded to by Secretary Manalo again. Hindi ba dapat sabihin na talaga yung katotohanan ay kahit we were assured that the ICC has no jurisdiction in the Philippine government chose to surrender, chose to cooperate, chose to build the case against President Duterte for the ICC and evade the national
Again, ma'am, I would
laws.
go back to Republic Act 9851, which recognizes international tribunals.
Yes, pero nahihilo na po ang buong sambayanan. Sabi ng Pangulo, Interpol, sabi rin ni Secretary Manualo, sabi ni
And then the Interpol, ma'am, I was one of the first persons to say that the Interpol would play a part with whatever problems there would be with the ICC.
Ang naalala ko po si E.S. Bersamin din na nagsabi
Before the ES said
Interpol.
that, I said it already before,
Ay,
ma'am.
ganun ba? Okay po. So may Interpol. Pagkatapos, maliwanag sa certification ni Prosecutor Fadulion, Rome Statute naman ang kanyang ini-invoke. Pagkatapos, doon sa sinaunang hearing, ang SOJ natin, paulit-ulit na sinasaad na hindi ICC, kundi RA 9851 ang mahiwagang Section 17, Paragraph 2, last phrase. Tapos sabi naman, na iba na naman, naging IHL. Kahit wala namang gera o
IHL
kinalaman
and
sa Red
9851
Cross.
I use in the same light, ma'am. Kasi that's our version of international humanitarian law, which is Republic Act 9851.
Naku naman, paano naman naging customary pati jurisdiction at procedure? Hahayaan ko na lang. Pero sabi rin, walang jurisdiction ng ICC, pero may jurisdiction sa individual at sa krimen. Naku, parang panloloko na to, hinihilo na po kaninyo kami. Gulong-gulo na ako eh. Ilang
Ano
beses
ho
ko
to
nang
eh, hindi
binabasa.
sana magulo to. Kung nag-withdraw tayo sa ICC, nirepeal din natin yung 9851. Hindi ho natin ni-repeal eh. And it's supposed to be a companion bill. Kasi nauna pong i-pass ang Republic Act 1951 bago po tayo nag-accede sa ICC. Which means talagang yung naging basis po ng ating accession sa ICC ay 9851. Pero ang problema ho, nung nag-advise po kay President Duterte na umatras tayo sa ICC, hindi po binigay yung advice na i-repeal din ang 9851.
Baka may maidagdag si Attorney Medina, yung constitutionalist natin, si Justice Ascuna. Talaga bang IHL ito? Talagang international humanitarian law, pati jurisdiction, procedure, administrative law, sakop na lahat ng IHL. Parang ang hirap naman tanggapin.
Madam Chair, while the
This was in the previous hearing, to be fair po, not today.
yes, the question is whether or not the Philippine IHL law is relevant, since IHL is the law on armed conflict and there's no war. Okay, that is true. But then among the crimes covered by IHL is crimes against humanity. And crimes against humanity may be committed during peacetime as well as wartime. Consequently, the Philippine IHL, although generally addressing offenses committed during war, can also address offenses committed during peacetime because, as I said, certain offenses, such as crimes against humanity, are by definition crimes that can be committed during wartime as well as peacetime.
Yes, that is to do with the nature of the crime po, Justice. Perhaps, Attorney Medina, you can bolt in. You were present in the first hearing. Pati ba naman jurisdiction, procedure, lahat yan sakop ng IHL?
The jurisdiction of the ICC remains under the concept of a complementary jurisdiction, meaning that it kicks in only if the national judicial system is genuinely unable to genuinely prosecute or investigate the suspect. So,
Is that the case po in the Philippines? Are we genuinely unable to prosecute?
in the case of former President Rodrigo Duterte, the ICC apparently has reached the conclusion that the Philippines is unable to genuinely prosecute him because no case was filed against him after so many years, even after he stepped down from the presidency. That is the finding of the ICC. So they issued a warrant of arrest on the footing that they have their complementary jurisdiction has set in, because the Philippines, as far as the former president is concerned, is unable to genuinely prosecute him.
However, if the cases, for example, that would emanate from the Quadcom, the DOJ task force, the Senate Blue Ribbon hearing, the ICC investigations that utilized all the government agencies, if these resulted in a case and they were filed in the Philippines, certainly the Philippine courts are competent, able, willing to rule on this. Don't you think so, Honorable Ascuna po and Attorney Medina?
Part of the reason, perhaps, of the inability to genuinely prosecute is the availability of witnesses. In cases of very high-level persons like former heads of state, the experience of the ICC is that the witnesses are generally afraid to testify in their home countries, so that even if the Department of Justice, for instance, is investigating, genuinely investigating the cases, the witnesses may not be forthcoming. In fact, the prosecutor of the ICC resorted to what they call internet invitation of witnesses, and in this way the witnesses came out through the internet, and I think the witnesses now are willing to testify in The Hague. Witnesses who would not be willing to testify here in the Philippines. So it's not the prosecution, it's the witnesses that makes it unable genuinely to prosecute the former president.
Yes, thank you very much. Justice Attorney Medina, would you like to add something to our understanding of IHL and procedure,
Thank-
jurisdiction,
Yeah.
and such other matters?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I get the point of our good secretary that the crime of crime against humanity is not just an international law crime. It's actually a crime in the Philippines, punishable in the Philippines. And 9851 actually provides
Yes,
that
given
the
naman
person,
po yun,
Opo,
pero
oo.
pati jurisdiction, pati
Opo.
procedure, lahat na lang naging customary law.
No, that's the problem po. That if we have to comply with international law, we have to also comply with the Philippine laws, okay? And primarily that would be the Constitution. So international obligations, yes, there's the principle of pacta sunt servanda that we have to comply with international obligations, but that does not necessarily mean that we have to disregard constitutional protections under the Bill of Rights. Now, of course, there are a lot of debates going on whether or not the ICC should have jurisdiction or should we recognize the ICC, and that's precisely the point. It's not for the police, it's not for the executive branch to decide that. Ultimately, it should have been decided by a court of law because it involves the deprivation of liberty. Thank you po.
Thank you.